tell me about this here. This comment. I didn't see it.
What?
The comment about the.
Are we recording?
Well, yeah.
Oh shit! I'm gonna have to cut all that out.
Oh, you cut out your stuff, but you leave the stuff where I make a fool of myself. That's good.
I'm being politically spicy here, and I don't want to get people upset.
You gotta admit, that's a good shot.
Lucas and I have been telling you about Parts Tech for a while now, and how it gives you access to unlimited parts and tire vendors and direct integration with over 35 shop management systems. And now they've just launched a new referral program. All you have to do is open your Parts Tech account, go to My Shop, and click on the Rewards tab. There you'll find your referral URL, which you can share via email, text message, or on your social media. If your referral signs up for a new account and places 5 orders in the first 30 days, Parts Tech will send you a $100 gift card. That's it, nothing else is needed. Your referrals can get you $100 just for using Parts Tech, which, by the way, is absolutely free to get started with. So if you're using Parts Tech already, start sharing that referral link. And if you haven't signed up for Parts Tech yet, what are you waiting for? Click on the link in the description or go to partstech.com/podcast. That's partstech.com/podcast. So this was from the SEMA preview video that we did with Brett and Roy, which was a random video to make this comment on, but whatever. I want to hear what some shop owners would say about this scenario. A dealership hires me at $43 an hour, flat rate, at their own will. I did not ask for $43. I wasn't even asked what I want, but my number was a lot lower than 43. Okay. I'm flagging 25 hours a week on an average. Everyone else seems to have more work. I found out after talking to the service writers that they don't send work to me because it takes too much money out of their pay. What would you do in this situation? Quit or talk to HR and transfer to another dealership? Remember, I did not ask for this money. This is what they wanted to pay me.
Well, number one, if you were going to take half of the 43 and you can turn 25 hours, then not just take my 25 hours and roll, right? I wouldn't even worry about you know what I'm saying? So like if they're going to give him, 43 and he really wanted 20, well, happy day, right? I mean, I hate to be like that, but
if the money's the same, yeah, what does it matter? If he's making the same amount, only flagging 25.
The problem with that becomes it's you build toxicity because like the service writers really become more and more aggravated.
They resent
the
him.
Other techs begin to resent him.
Yeah.
And so it turns into a thing. And so you get into a toxic relationship type of situation.
Yeah.
It also means that the technician doesn't have an opportunity to grow, right? Because he's not getting the challenging stuff. He's not getting more stuff.
That's not, and then dealership? No. At 43 an hour, he's probably getting some of the more difficult work that can't be done more efficiently with a cheaper tech.
Okay.
So he's not getting the gravy.
Right.
The stuff that he's like, hey, I'm going to be able to do that 3-hour job in an hour or an hour and a half. And I can do 5 of these a day.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we're not going to give that to you because this other guy can do it in 2.
Well, I mean, we've talked a little bit about dealer advisor pay plans, right? And like looking at them, dude, they're super complex. They have, and the dealer advisor said, no, that doesn't look complex. No, I mean, if you hand that plan to the average human being walking down the street and you said, how much would you get paid? They'd say, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think a lot of this comes back to the pay plan that the advisor's on. I don't think it's necessarily his fault, especially considering he didn't ask for that kind of pay. But you also have to come back and say, okay, if he didn't ask for that kind of pay, does he not just go right back to the person who hired him and say, hey, listen, we got a little bit of a situation? Are you saying he wants to be transferred? Does he not just go back to the person who hired him and say, hey, here's the situation. I'm not getting work.
He might have been hired by a recruiter. Who knows? And the recruiter had a budget, and they're like, hey, we found a good candidate. We're not going to lose him. We're going to get this hired. And that's the only way the recruiter gets paid is they get a successful hire. So they threw
look how many guys that go out and they see a big number on paper, right? Because we talk about this all the time with independent techs. They're like, well, I want $100,000 a year. I want this many dollars an hour. They're just looking at the dollars an hour. Mm-hmm. They're just looking at the salary. They don't understand like benefit packages, what they cost and how much that applies to their pay. Carm did an episode years ago called The Invisible Paycheck, right? Yeah. And so never understood like, hey, all this other money that goes into this that you don't see, that you don't understand. And all you like, remember how I got onto that big kick for a while that it was like $100,000. I want a bigger number. I want a bigger number. It's about the bigger number. Yeah. It's an ego thing. It's not like, hey, I need that money. Mm-hmm. It's that I want to say that I make that money, right? In this person's case, I know that's not the case because he wasn't even asking for what he got. Yeah. Right? But I mean, at some point you got to go back and talk to the person who hired you and say, man, I'm not getting any work. So I think it warrants a discussion. First of all, I don't know enough about dealers to be able to truly comment or say like what I think I would do. I mean, they are bureaucratic and political as all get out.
Yeah, well, that's any big company is going to be like that. So I'd be looking for something else. I'd be looking for something else. If the guy doesn't need that kind of money, here's where there's hope for him, right? Mm-hmm. To find a good shop. This is somebody that understood what he needed to make or what his value was, and so was asking for a lower dollar amount or didn't need that high amount. Now that he's receiving that money, does not feel that the value that he brings to the company is commensurate to the amount that he's being paid.
Is it even pay? Is it even pay? In other words, he doesn't feel valued because he's not having the opportunity. They're saying, we don't want to give you that work. Yeah, he doesn't feel valued. He
wants to be able to turn 40, 50 hours a week because that's what a $43 an hour tech can do. But he's only getting 25, and it's because I don't have the opportunity to do the 40 to 50 hours a week. So I don't feel that I'm bringing the correct amount of value to the company, which is going to affect his self-esteem, his self-worth, his self-confidence. The company, the service advisors are doing what they have to do in their self-interest, which has always been my issue with the whole commission thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Pit everybody against each other, and that's what the ownership wants. I get that, but man, I mean, it does create this situation. It doesn't seem like this person is in the right environment. Find an independent repair shop, get a good salary up front, understand the expectation level. What's the goal of the company? What are they trying to accomplish? And then make sure that lines up. I'd leave. The dealership world, I'm sure he was in a situation where he was making 20, 25 an hour. He was flagging 50 hours a week, but he was doing maintenance work and easy warranty work. And he's like, I should, this is what normal is. All of a sudden he's bumped into big boy pay and he may not be doing big boy work, or there's not enough, or they didn't want to give it to him. And he's like, I'm not getting any maintenance. I'm not getting any of your typical flushes. 9,000 mile cars are not coming in. I'm getting difficult diags. I can't get them done in an efficient manner. So now I'm only at 25 an hour. There could be a lot of variables in there. I'd quit. I'd leave.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in this instance, is that if they were so short-sighted as to get into this situation, right?
I guarantee you that was a recruiter. I guarantee you that was a recruiter. Yeah. That they were just, what's my budget? You got 50 an hour. Okay, I can get this guy for 43. Done.
We've got this panel tonight. We're at Tools, and we've got this panel tonight. And one of the questions that I'm going to ask on the panel is this new, the change that we've seen in regards to pay, especially in dealerships, right? Because what all the techs keep saying, it's a technician's market. It's a technician's market. And they're right. It is a technician's market. We talked about this in a video yesterday about a dealer principal that I know or a service manager that I know, and who is involved with the car companies in a big way. And he says, they can think it's a technician's market all they want, but let their employers get under hard times and duress and find out who gets fired the quickest. Yeah. He's like, the problem is what they're trading out for this excess money that they're getting, or this, I won't call it excess money, but the increased revenue that they're making. What they're trading for that is security, right? And that was his exact words. Some of these people are going to expect to have a job and an employer that's going to keep them there and take care of them. He said, now, one of the things about that is that the dealer world, they know that they're not protected like that. Independent world, our guys usually feel pretty secure about the fact, like, hey, I'm going to be okay, right? If something's going to happen, I'm going to have a little bit of a heads up. I can make a move. I can make a change, right? But, in some shops, there's some shops that run closer to the dealer model. But, his point is like what you're trading for that extra revenue that you weren't getting before, and we're so sizably increasing these pay plans, is that you're losing 50% of your security.
Yeah.
Right? So now, because we increased your pay 50%, that's great and all, but the minute that things downturn, the minute that we don't have enough work, guess who's going? Yeah. You've lost 50% of that security right there as soon as that pay plan went up. And so, that's one of the things I want to talk about tonight. Is this change sustainable? Right? Because we've talked a lot about weight and exercise and everything else, right? And so, like, when I lost all my weight, I went hardcore, right? I dropped down to 1,500 calories a day at the very most. Some days I was 800 to 1,000 calories. I was running 3 miles a day, not really running, but kind of trotting, right? Mm-hmm. As much as a big boy can. I was exercising. I was lifting weights. I was getting up at 3 a.m. and I was working out, and I was going to work at 4. And and the problem, like, it was sustainable for a while, and then slowly it dripped off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Little by little by little. Mm-hmm. And then one day I looked up and I'm like, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I don't feel like doing this. I'd lost the weight. Oh, I'll be all right. I can, and so when you make huge drastic changes are rarely sustainable.
Yeah.
And so what have we done with pay plans recently? What have we done with technicians recently is we've made huge drastic changes. Do you think it's sustainable?
Is it sustainable? That depends on the economy, I think, in general. Here's the thing, like, the price of new vehicles has skyrocketed. The cost of financing those vehicles has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So new vehicle sales are out the window. They're going to turn down. It means most of your salespeople are going to get fired. It means that there's not going to be a need for 26 technicians at the dealership.
Yeah.
They can get by with 13. So where do those 13 guys go?
And then all of a sudden you end up with saturation in the independent market because they're looking.
They're going to get this influx of 15 people applying for the same job. And I can get this guy for 20, not 25, done.
Yeah. And so now you achieve a higher saturation rate of the good technicians, right? And so you end up with those in good shops, right? The good technicians theoretically would end up in the good shops or the decent shops, right? Because they're going to shop the shop. They're not going to go work somewhere that's not a quality organization. They know what to look for. In the most,
I think that what they need to be careful about is thinking that, okay, well, if I can't make 50 at the independent, I was making that at the dealership. Dealership dumped me. I can't make that at the independent because they can get a guy for 35 an hour that has the same skill set. I'll just go be a HVAC guy or plumber or welder or whatever. Okay, but the housing market has dried up because interest rates are over 8% right now. Nobody's buying houses. The sellers of new homes, brand new homes, they're incentivizing the crap out of them to get rid of them because they've got too much inventory. Nobody's moving. So that market dries up too. The remodel and new construction, all that's drying up.
Right.
So now they're in trouble. Now there's less demand for some of the trades work. Some of the weaker companies, the weaker electrical contractors or electric contractors, the weaker plumbers, those weaker companies dry up.
Right. Hey, so I want to see if I can find it. I saw a post just the other day, and it was our local chamber of commerce, and they were talking about home sales. Maybe it's just a geographic anomaly or something, but home sales in our community is like way up. What's the
home sales in your community are up? I think the homes are still selling. The level of inventory, that's houses that are available for sale, is 1/10 of what it normally is right now in Kansas City. 1/10 of what it normally is. That means there was a lot of real estate agents that no longer have any homes to sell. They don't have anybody. And that was a lot of an influx of buyers. But at 8% interest rates,
it's not sustainable for long.
Those buyers they're gonna be gone.
I'm concerned for our community that the people who are buying are investors, right? And they have money put back and they see opportunity. Because that's what's happened to the housing market in our town is many
investors or like big firms like a BlackRock.
Big firms and investors. And so we're seeing apartment growth, right? They added something like 46,000 apartments this year to our community.
Yeah.
The single family dwelling is disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
And the single family dwellings that are up for rent, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month. And you turn around and you do a little bit of research and you figure out it's owned by a corporation. It's not owned by an individual. So our community used to be that all these homes that were for rent or were for sale were by the owner.
Yeah.
And that's going away. Interestingly enough, we talked about Mountain City yesterday. George lives in Mountain City. And so it would appear, you look at the owner rented homes, it would appear that they don't have the money to properly take care of those homes because they're run down compared to these big corporations. The big corporations are like maintaining them to the nines and really nice and doing really nice landscaping out front and everything else. Make them appealing. The house may be junk, I don't know, but
you're paying double the rent.
Yeah. And so that's where the money comes from. But I don't know that the situation we found ourselves in, not just in automotive, the entire economy is exactly that sustainable right now.
Yeah.
In where we're at. I mean, something has to give at some point.
I don't know what it'll be.